Inside the Palace of Versailles, a G7 summit dinner became the backdrop for a high-stakes diplomatic encounter. U.S. President Donald Trump sat alongside French and Iranian leaders to sign the Islamabad Memorandum, a formal 60-day ceasefire. The atmosphere was tense, punctuated by the president's own admission on microphone. This was not easy. That short statement reflected the gravity of the compromise being made. This 60-day window is a strategic pivot. With the Iranian regime remaining in place despite years of pressure, the U.S. has moved to stabilize a situation that was rapidly spiraling out of control. Right before the signing, the economic stakes were critical. The threat to the Strait of Hormuz helped push global oil prices to $120 a barrel, placing a direct strain on the world's energy supply. As energy costs climbed, global supply chains began to falter. Faced with a looming recession, European allies increased their demands for the U.S. to find a diplomatic path forward. To address this crisis, the U.S. entered negotiations to rebalance the geopolitical ledger, trading specific concessions for immediate market stability. The primary U.S. demand was a cessation of military operations across multiple fronts. Crucially, the final text specifically names Lebanon, aiming to freeze the conflict in that region. The immediate result for the economy was a reopening of maritime traffic. As Iran ensured safe commercial shipping, crude oil prices dropped back below $80 a barrel. This chart tracks uranium enrichment. The 90% mark is the threshold for a nuclear weapon. Before this agreement, Iran's levels reached 70%. Under a process called downblending, supervised by the IAEA, these levels will drop to a civilian range of 20 to 40%. While these steps provide economic relief and pause the nuclear clock, they represent only one side of the agreement. On Iran's side of the ledger, the most significant gain is the lifting of heavy economic sanctions, allowing the country to resume global oil exports. This creates an immediate influx of revenue for Tehran. Additionally, billions of dollars in Iranian assets that were previously frozen in overseas accounts are now slated for release. The deal also includes a $300 billion reconstruction fund. This capital is expected to come from Gulf state investments rather than the U.S. Treasury. This map shows Iran's regional network. During negotiations, Iran successfully kept its ballistic missile program and its connections to groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis off the table. For Iran, the memorandum secures economic relief and infrastructure funding without requiring them to dismantle their regional military influence. The complexity of this 2026 crisis stands in contrast to the diplomatic framework that existed a decade ago. The 2015 nuclear agreement was designed to contain Iran's enrichment levels, while regional wars and global shipping remained separate from the negotiation. After the U.S. exited that deal in 2018, Iran began to rapidly increase its enrichment activities and expand its regional footprint. By 2026, the U.S. found itself in a position where it had to offer far more significant economic and financial concessions to reach a level of stability that was once maintained with fewer variables. The Islamabad Memorandum is not a final treaty. It is a 2-month holding pattern. The situation is precarious. Allied dissatisfaction, a single proxy attack, or a failure in the dilution process could trigger an immediate breakdown of the ceasefire. Over the next 60 days, both nations will monitor each other's compliance. This period will determine if a more permanent settlement is even possible. For right now, the conflict is paused. The world is waiting to see if this temporary balance can hold, or if the region will revert to a state of open crisis.